MAGA administration and the fake news MAGAs are losing their mind over something that's not even true. Fake right-wing propaganda news alert from this supposed right-angle news network, supposed network, that I led a protest into a church this morning in Minneapolis. That is complete BS.
This is the beginning of what's going to happen here. When you violate people's due process, when you pull people off the street, you start dragging them and hurting them and not abiding by the Constitution, when you start doing all of that, people get upset and angry. They're getting the operation together. Again, this is an operation that is secret, that they invited folks out. Can't tell you what is going to happen, but you're going to watch it live unfold here on the Don Lemon Show. I turned our camera off of them because they're giving some critical information here. But there we go. Everybody's ready to go.
First of all, I had no idea who the organization was.
So
this is Nakima Levy Armstrong. She's on the show
Nakima
on
Levy
Friday.
Armstrong.
There's nothing in the Constitution that tells you what time you can protest. You can protest at any time. That's the whole point of it, is to disrupt, to make uncomfortable. And that's what they're doing, and that's what I believe.
Ladies and gentlemen, Lemon here is in panic mode because he led a group of anti-ICE radical protesters into a church in Minneapolis. This was just bananas. You would think that they had stooped low enough and were consistently putting themselves in bad situations and then crying victim over and over again, protecting criminals and rapists and so forth. But no, they decided that they hadn't gone low enough, even though some would argue they were winning in the court of public opinion after Renee Nicole Good, this foolish woman, ended up getting herself killed, and a bunch of bleeding hearts are trying to play her out to be the victim. But no, they decided to go ahead and ruin their reputation by storming a church, which is going to ruin any progress that these dummies had to begin with. So Don Lemon is at the forefront of that, and he is obviously trying to deny that this happened the way that it was claimed to have happened and that he had anything to do with it, and saying, oh, I was just a journalist, I was just observing. But let's go ahead and find out if that's true. I got a couple videos here to react to, so let's get into this. By the way, guys, there's a new feature on YouTube where you can hype videos, so be sure to like the video, hype the video. It helps out a lot. Appreciate you.
Resistance and protest into Minneapolis a little bit ago, and did some reconnaissance on the ground, speaking to an organization there that's gearing up to for resistance and protest. I've been pleasantly surprised to see the community coming together. Diverse community. If you see this, when we first pulled up, we're like, wait a minute, which operation are we at? And as it turns out, because we're like, well, this is kind of MAGA coded, right? So the American flag or whatever, but these are resistance protesters. They're planning an operation that we're going to follow them on. I can't tell you exactly what they're doing, but it's called Operation Pull Up. And it's Nakima Armstrong, and she has been doing this since George Floyd, Dante Wright, and others, where they surprise people, catch them off guard, and hold them to account. And so that's what we're doing here. And then after we do this operation, you'll see it live. And these operations are surprise operations. Again, you can't tell you where they're going.
Okay, so Don Lemon had the scoop that they were going to storm this church. Now, whether or not he is actually accountable for leading it, let's keep going, and then you can make your own assessment.
The Lord safe in your house, the tracing you want to get your house in order.
That is correct.
In the middle of service, wow.
Renee Good! Renee Good! Renee Good!
Renee Good! Renee Good! Don't shoot! Don't shoot! Don't shoot! Don't shoot! Don't shoot! Don't shoot! Don't shoot!
Where are you? Where are you? Where are you? Where are your people? Why are you not at Whipple every day fighting for the humanity, standing for our people? Where are you? You drink your coffee, you got your jewelry, you have your nice clothes, but what do you do? What do you do to stand for your Somali and Latino communities? I'm not going to comment. You have no comment, exactly.
This is crazy, guys.
Say your name! Renee Good! Say your name! Renee Good! Renee Good!
We have a duty to win! We must always support one another!
this is hard to watch. I don't think I can make it through all of this, guys. Like, you got people coming into church, even, not that it's okay to even come into the church like this at all, but they're coming in and harassing people. Like, a lady's sitting down drinking coffee, and you're sitting down. I mean, come on, guys. Like, there's countless names. They want to focus on Renee Good and the Somali. What happened with the Somali community? Nothing's happened to them. They've been committing fraud, and some of that's been exposed. Most of it, I would argue, hasn't, in terms of any actual charges or prosecutions that have occurred. So nothing's even happened to the Somali community. So it's like, what is this loser talking about? But guys, I'm going to continue here because the pastor responded. Don Lemon did interview him. Let's see what he had to say.
What do you think of this?
I mean, this is unacceptable. It's shameful. It's shameful to interrupt a public gathering of Christians in worship.
But there were folks who will say,
I have to take care of my flock.
okay, but listen, we live there's a constitution in the First Amendment to freedom of speech and freedom to assemble and protest.
We're here to worship. We're here to worship Jesus because that's the hope of these cities. That's the hope of the world is Jesus Christ.
I want to be very respectful. Please don't push me, though.
We're here to worship Jesus.
Yes.
That's why we're here. Okay, that's why we're here. That's what we're about.
Don't you think Jesus would be understanding
we're about
and love these folks?
We're about spreading the love of Jesus.
But did you try to talk to them as a Christian?
No one is willing to talk.
Okay.
I have to take care of my church and my family, so I asked that you actually would also leave this building.
You don't want us to chronicle what happened?
Unless you're here to worship.
I'm always worship. I'm a Christian.
We're here to worship.
Yeah.
We're here to worship. Okay.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. What do you think of this?
This guy is such a freaking loser, man. There's one more video here. This is him inside of the church while it's happening.
This is the beginning of what's going to happen here. When you violate people's due process, when you pull people off the street, you start dragging them and hurting them and not abiding by the Constitution, when you start doing all of that, people get upset and angry. And if you remember what the Civil Rights Movement was about, the Civil Rights Movement was about these very kinds of protests. And for some reason, in our modern era, people think that in order to have protests, you got to be, cordoned off to a certain area and, what time you can protest. Look, there's nothing in the Constitution that tells you what time you can protest. You can protest at any time. That's the whole point of it, is to disrupt, it's to make uncomfortable. And that's what they're doing. And that's what I believe when I say everyone has to be willing to sacrifice something. You have to make people uncomfortable in these times. If you see how uncomfortably and how harsh people are being treated on the streets, you have to be willing to go into places and disrupt and make people uncomfortable.
I don't think that trying to make an argument that going into church and arguing in favor of a woman who was literally breaking the law. I could see it if, again, they just took some random woman driving by and, just pulled her off on the street and just shot her execution style or something, or just beat the crap out of her or something. But none of that stuff is what happened. This woman deliberately put herself in a bad situation and then didn't listen to the lawful orders and then hit a officer of the law, a federal officer. So regardless of how much they try to spin this, how much they try to cry, the facts are out there. We live in a time where people could see the videos for themselves. There's all these different angles of it happening, including the one where the officer is holding his cell phone. So it doesn't matter if you guys want to cry about this. You could go and spring into action into 100 churches. It's not going to change the facts. It's not going to change the fact that people like Lake and Riley weren't given this same respect. And they just don't seem to care about her because, one, she's white, and two, she was killed by an illegal alien. Well, I guess that's okay. Well, white lady killed by ICE officer for putting herself in a bad situation, a situation totally within her control. Oh, she's the victim. Guys, most people aren't falling for it. Only a bunch of buffoons are falling for this. If you're wondering who that woman was earlier in the photo above Lemonhead, According to Colin Rugg, Assistant AG for Civil Rights Harmeet Dillon suggests the Ku Klux Klan Act may be used on the agitators who stormed the Minnesota church. In the same interview, Dillon said Lemon was not necessarily protected from prosecution because he calls himself a journalist.
In other cases, the Biden DOJ used the Klan Act conspiracy charges tacked on to the FACE Act in the case of protests outside abortion clinics to bring much longer sentences. So there are a number of tools available to us. Who funded this? What else? What other crimes may have occurred? Was there a use of the wires or the mails in preparing for this event? Did anyone cross state lines to do this? All of those are potential predicates for additional federal charges. Don Lemon himself has come out and said he knew exactly what was going to happen inside that facility. He went into the facility and then he began, quote unquote, committing journalism. And as if that's sort of a shield from being an embedded part of a criminal conspiracy. It isn't. And so, we're getting our ducks in a row. We're putting the facts together. And this is a very serious matter. Come next Sunday, nobody should think in the United States that they're going to be able to get away with this. Everyone in the protest community needs to know that the fullest force of the federal government is going to come down and prevent this from happening and put people away for a long, long time.
Do you think Lemonhead shares some of the responsibility here? Let me know what you guys think. Drop a like on the video. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. I appreciate you guys watching. I'm out. Big shout out to my members, Cybernoodle, 655, Bella Scott, and Carpentier John. Could not do it without you.
These are the people who will say they have a First Amendment right to speak, but they just trampled on the First Amendment right of that church to be able to worship. That's what they're doing right now, and this is completely unacceptable. But let's be very clear. President Trump and his administration, they're not going to bend the knee to the mob, because that's what the mayor of Minneapolis wants. That's what Tim Walz and Gavin Newsom, these other crazy governors, that's what they want. The Democrats have no solutions about protecting the United States, protecting their people, or having orderly legal immigration into the United States.